Hi everyone, welcome back to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. I'm Anthony Toma, your host, and today we're here with Joanne Shango with the Montessori School Rochester. Hi Joanne.
Hi Anthony,
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
First I gotta say I love the hair.
Thank you.
I had to throw that out there, it looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us what the MSR is and what's new and exciting with it?
Awesome. The MSR, the Montessori School Rochester, is a birth through grade 8 program. It's a Montessori-based program. We're an authentic Montessori school. We started...
Can you tell people what an authentic Montessori school is?
An authentic Montessori school is really about child-centered learning. It means that the most important skill that our guides have or teachers have is observation. We're observing our students, we're seeing who they are, what they're capable of doing, and we're giving them opportunities in the learning environment for them to excel. It helps each child really reach their own personal potential academically, but also socially and emotionally. In an authentic Montessori school, the curriculum isn't prescribed. We have it all laid out, but when your child is approaching or working on particular concepts really is based on what they're capable of doing at that time. So rather than trudging along at 30 miles an hour, I'm sure you've met kids, maybe your own, that struggle academically.
Right.
And in the traditional systems, they're teaching 30, 100 students the exact same content at the exact same time. And in reality, only about 30% of those children are really ready for that material. Some are beyond that material and they're bored. They might exhibit more frustration, behaviors. Their teachers are saying, you know, they're not cooperating or they're helping their friends. They're not letting their friends do their work. They're walking around.
That's awesome.
Does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times those kids that are bored are causing behaviors, and then there's also the kids that really aren't ready for that material and they're struggling, and they may also exhibit behaviors, or they might start kind of hiding inside of themselves, resisting school, resisting their teachers, resisting their parents, because they don't know how to explain that just because it says third grade work, that their brain's not ready for it. It's not making sense to them.
Yeah.
In an authentic Montessori, we get to really give them the experiences when they're truly ready for it. And so rather than trudging along at 30 miles an hour, they're kind of going from 0 to 60 because there's a lot of preparation work that's happening before they get to that concept. And then they have the luxury of time. How much time it takes to master a concept is based on each child, not based on the 2 weeks a teacher might have to teach and test on that concept.
Oh, that sounds too awesome to be true.
I know.
But it's true, huh? You're living it.
It is. I've been doing it for over 30 years, and we've had the school for, we are just finishing our 11th year.
Wow.
And it sounds too good to be true, but it's the most natural way for people to learn. If you think of yourselves as adults, you might decide to pick up a new hobby or a new task or a new job. It takes longer than 2 weeks to learn any facet of that job. And you have the luxury of time, but the responsibility as well. And so when you're able to balance that you get to learn something new with a responsibility around that something new, that's the same logic that we're using in the classrooms. And
cool.
We're changing for the kids the notion that you have to do something into you get to do something. If you get to learn, the responsibility comes from completing what it is that you've chosen or are ready to learn. And that responsibility combined with that independence is what really leads kids really far and truthfully very advanced in their academic development with, I don't know, a stronger sense of self. They're more confident, they're more comfortable, and they are really working out how to be and work with other people inside of their community. It's exactly true and is true at the Montessori School Rochester and other authentic Montessori schools.
Well, I feel smarter already. Thank you everyone for joining us. No, just kidding. So I interrupted you to kind of educate myself on authentic Montessoris, and then why don't you finish your thought on what MSR is up to these days?
Yeah, so we've been in Rochester Hills for the past 11 years, and we've grown. I think the last time I was here, we were just starting off on a new campus in Rochester Hills. beautiful campus, 9 acres, 33,000 square feet. We have 50 teachers in the school.
Wow.
Working with 250 students, and it's been really incredible. We've just decided to move into the west side. That's where I'm from. I grew up in West
Before we get
Bloomfield.
into that, I'm just blown away by we just glazed over 250 students and 50 teachers. That's only 5 students per teacher.
Yeah.
That's an amazing blend of knowledge distribution and one-on-one time
Yeah.
that's offered. So why don't you just dive into that a little bit so it doesn't go unnoticed or explained.
I think the ratio of that 1-to-5 up to 1-to-10 ratio, depending on the classrooms, is part of how we can do that more individualized
Right.
learning. Even in our middle school program, we have a 1-to-10 ratio. It's actually a 1-to-8 ratio in those classrooms, and it provides the perfect balance for the kids to have those one-on-one instruction moments with the guides,
Yeah.
as well as the opportunities to work more independently. With having such a low ratio, the guide is able to give small group and individual lessons versus, again, teaching to the mass group. Teaching to the mass group doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so that's the ability. It also gives a lot more in the way of social and emotional support for the children. So whether you're an infant in our community, you have a 1-to-3 ratio usually. And if you are a preschooler, it's a 1-to-8 to 1-to-10 ratio. Our elementary classrooms are actually a 1-to-7 ratio. And our middle school is sitting at a 1-to-8 ratio. And it really transforms the learning opportunities, whether your child is gifted, advanced, or your child needs that additional support because of their learning differences. We're able to provide those unique opportunities.
It's amazing. So back to the explanation of the old campus or the new campus, or which one were we talking about?
A little bit of both. We were
Okay.
just finishing up on the Rochester Hills campus.
Yep.
And so we decided to move out to the west side. I grew up out here.
Expand out to.
To expand out, yes.
Yeah.
We're opening a second campus. Our Rochester Hills campus is here to stay. We're planning on my daughter in 20 years taking that campus over.
nice.
She doesn't know it yet,
Yeah.
but those are the goals.
Yep.
But we decided to open a second campus. It's in the Crystal Lake area. We're right on the border of Bloomfield and Pontiac. It's a beautiful 12-acre campus. It's 55,000 square feet. It will service up to 500 students on this campus, and it truly has room to grow. Right now, we will have through middle school on that campus, from birth all the way through to middle school.
Is it open now?
It's opening in fall.
Opening in
It's
fall,
opening
okay.
in fall. And
So register now.
register now.
Okay.
Yeah, spaces are already filling up.
And since this is early on in the video, explain to them how to register, just so they could get that, write it down, jot it down, look for the links below, and get registered.
Absolutely. To register at the MSR on the Crystal Lake campus or the Rochester Hills campus, you want to go to the themsr.info. On our website, there is a place for new registrations where you can schedule a tour. You can come visit either campus, the Rochester Hills or the Crystal Lake campus. And from that point, we can move you into registering for the summer and/or fall semester for your infant, your preschooler, your kindergartner, your elementary, or your middle school student.
Very cool. So continue. Again, I keep interrupting you, but at least this is just, it's overwhelming to me that this actually exists. And coming so close to home now.
Yeah.
I mean, so you kind of talked about where it's located, and if you kind of explain it to the audience, they'll be able to picture it like I did.
Yeah, it's surrounded by the Crystal Lake Golf Course. The back end of our property is actually Bloomfield Hills, and the Menards and the Lowe's actually are two of our borders, and then the Crystal Lake Golf Course is the other border of our school property. And you can actually, our driveway is directly connected to where that Menards is, and there's, I think, an Aldi there, and the Henry Ford Medical Center. That's all in the same complex as our school. Right off of Telegraph Road, just north of Square Lake.
Yep. By the Costco.
By the Costco.
Everyone knows the Costco, just past the Costco.
Just past the Costco,
on the right.
just north on your right.
Yep.
It's a fantastic location. If you're in West Bloomfield or Bloomfield, Birmingham, Waterford, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, you're within 10 to 12 minutes of that campus, and it's so centrally located, being right off of Telegraph, and I've been driving it, and I don't feel like I'm getting stuck in traffic too much. From Rochester Hills, it still takes me only 15 minutes to get there. From West Bloomfield, where I grew up, it takes me 12 minutes from my parents' house to get over there, right by Shenandoah. It's about 12 minutes to drive over there. You've all been there. It's down the street from that Target and the Costco, and it's just a fantastic campus that allows us to really meet more of the Chaldean community that is out here on the west side. And so many of you drive out to us in Rochester, and now there's this opportunity to save a bit of drive time and to bring your friends and family over to the campus and let all of your children truly get the gift of Montessori education.
Yeah, for sure. What'll people see when they pull up, and then what's the tour look like?
Yeah, so you're going to see a large field. It's about 7 acres that's undeveloped, manicured but undeveloped, and some beautiful landscaping. And then you walk in, there's actually 3 different entrances. And this is one of the nice things about this campus for us, is that there's a separate wing for our early childhood. That would be birth through age 6, kindergarten, and then there's another entrance for the elementary and middle school students. There's also a playground in the back for our elementary students, and now we're going to be able to have a secondary playground for our early childhood, which again is one of the benefits of this campus versus our other location. One of the great things about this campus is this used to be an old Baptist college, and the gym inside of this campus is huge. It's a college-sized gymnasium.
Oh, wow.
And my husband, of course, thought that was the best feature of the entire campus, as do all of the students. All of our current students that are moving over, our middle school students that are moving over, they love this gymnasium.
Did they all get a tour?
They all got a tour, and they've actually been taking part in helping us to do the remodel and things like that.
Free labor.
Yeah, yeah. You know, child labor laws, they don't exist in Montessori schools. It's about work-based, project-based learning. So, they do all the work. There's
That's
also
funny.
2 courtyards on either side of that gymnasium, and those courtyards, particularly for our infants and toddlers, to have an interior outdoor space that's, just completely secluded from the outside, and yet it's fresh, it's green, it's connected directly to the classrooms where there's going to be doors that open out to the courtyard. The elementary students are already planning how to design their courtyard where they can do outdoor learning. There's these huge windows. The entire campus is windows.
Wow.
And so the kids can be in that courtyard, these elementary students can be in the courtyard, and they feel independent, and their classrooms are right there. The teachers are able to see them, the door's right there, and yet they're able to kind of take that extra space. Again, when you think of students, those kids that just need to move, they're frustrated or something's going on, take a walk, go outside, and you're in this, it's an outdoor classroom that's inside of the building. It's extraordinary.
Wow, that's so cool. What else are the plans there, and who should be dying to get in?
I think everybody should be dying to get in. When I think of, students that need that more, you're feeling like what's happening at your public school or your traditional private school where your student is just disengaged. They need Montessori, they need the MSR. The students that are bored because they have already learned it. If we had one student walking through, a middle school student that's at another school, and her mom talked most of the tour, that's usually the case, but I was engaging her, and she turned to me and she said, everything they teach me, I already know, even if I've never seen it before. She's like, it just all makes sense. I'm like, that's because the experiences in your environment have already prepared you for it. You didn't need somebody to teach you.
This is the child?
This is the child saying this.
Wow.
And I was like, because you learned it somehow just in natural experiences, that child needs Montessori. She thought, she just looked and she said, so I could do any math? I'm like, I have 8th graders doing calculus at our school. well, one 8th grader doing
Yeah.
calculus because that one student was ready for it.
Right.
We have students that are working on basic math, and we have students that are working on algebra. It's a huge range, so anybody that knows that their child needs something that's more customized to them, or if you know your child needs a new way to be engaged, you need the MSR.
Gotcha. So there's an event coming up, a fundraiser, a gala.
Yes, we have our annual gala this year. It's at the M1 Concourse, which is actually just half a mile down the street from the Crystal Lake campus. And it's going to be a great event. There's going to be car driving experiences, some that are virtual, possibly a racetrack. We still need a sponsor for that one, so anybody that would like to sponsor. We're looking at, there's going to be a cigar lounge on the second level of the event, and even more exciting, particularly for those of you that are new to Montessori or just want to know more, our keynote speaker at the gala is Paula Lillard-Preslack, and she is an author. She is a Montessorian for the past 30 years. Her mother was a Montessorian. Her mother was an author, or is an author of some Montessori books for parents, and her sister actually is also a researcher in Montessori education. It's a huge Montessori family, so to be able to have her come out to the gala and speak and just share about the potential of Montessori for students is very exciting. That opportunity, that 45 minutes to an hour of her just giving us more in-depth knowledge of Montessori is going to be huge, but there's also going to be music, dancing, and there's going to be, of course, a auction and things
Okay.
like that at the event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And I know you mentioned before what the admission cost was.
Yeah, so it is a tuition-based school. We're an independent school, and tuition varies. It's anywhere from
I was talking about to enter the gala.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
The gala is actually complimentary.
Okay.
We felt, especially with having Ms. Preslack join us as a keynote speaker, we felt it was really important to make sure that anybody that wanted to attend the gala come out, learn about Montessori, support us in the process. We wanted to make sure that everybody can join us, so the tickets are complimentary.
Gotcha.
We ask you to bring your friends, your family. Even if you're not already part of the school, this gala is an opportunity to meet us, celebrate with us, and support us as we open our doors to support more of your children.
Awesome. So get into the tuition.
So again, we're an independent school, and so it is tuition-based. And the tuition ranges anywhere from $9,000 to, I think, around $14,000 for a school year. That higher
Typical
end,
private.
it's a typical
Yeah.
private school. It also includes, though, a longer day, at that higher end. That's inclusive of your early drop-off care and your extended care. And it's, again, our ratios are low.
Yeah.
And it just really provides you with the expertise of our guides at our school. We have guides that are Montessori trainers, including myself. We have guides that are national speakers on Montessori. We really have the best in staff.
Yeah.
Our expertise is exhibited in the love and the joy that we see in the children. So it's pretty fantastic.
Very nice. So the price range or the tuition range is equal to what I pay for my girls, and then it's half of what I paid for my son at a kind of the same ratio with teachers to students kind of ratio, and I paid double what the high end was.
Yeah.
For a couple years. So it sounds very reasonable, very educational, very everything sounds great about it. What else do you want to share about it before we close out?
What else do I want to share? I think particularly for our middle schoolers, but also for our infants and toddlers and our preschoolers, the gift you give to allow them to figure out how the world works and how they work in the world, to be there as a guide and a support when they need you, to have teachers that know when to step back and when to step in is the most extraordinary thing. Our middle schoolers do things like host a Revolutionary War reenactment. They're building tents that are 8 foot tall. They're writing a reenactment, performing it for their guests. They are sharing their intellectual knowledge, they're doing research, they're creating presentations, but everything's on this real world scale, like real world scale. And that gift is as equal to as our toddlers who are peeling their own bananas and slicing them and eating them.
It's a big deal.
It's a
really
huge
is, yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do this. So if you want peaceful children, as peaceful as they can be while they're still figuring out the challenges and the differences in this really strange world, Montessori is the way to do it. I don't know, it's fantastic. I look at my son who's 12 and my older son who's 15 and my daughter who's 17, and what they do, how they communicate with the world. Do they have temper tantrums? Do they get frustrated? Do they try to avoid their work, particularly the ones that are now in high school, traditional high school? All of that happens, but the connectedness they have to themselves, to be able to work themselves through those big emotions, to be able to pair up and trust the adults that they're working with, makes those things so much easier. My kids will tell you opposite of what I'm about to say, and I'll explain why. But essentially, I don't yell in my household. I have learned to just talk and communicate. I know that a loud voice sounds louder, but is usually the message is not heard.
Yeah.
And my kids say, well, I mean, you yell, and they're talking about a discipline, and I use a quiet voice.
Yeah.
But periodically, like it happens like twice a year, so we're due. But
just making sure it still exists.
Yeah. And my voice actually raises, and then they're like, "Oh, now we see what you mean," because it's not a lack of, and part of that just comes from that parenting aspect that I learned being a Montessorian or a Montessori mom. But the other part comes from their trust of the adult. They're not constantly in a state of distrust or rebellion with the adults.
Right.
And if you're looking for that, if you want to bring a little bit more peace into your house, even as your children go through a hard time, again, that's what Montessori does. My daughter is a junior in high school. She's doing fantastic. She went with us through grade 6. And one of the things she had said was, "They're teaching us wrong, Mom."
Oh, boy.
And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, as hard and challenging as her course load is, and she's an honors student, so she's taking all of those AP courses and honors courses, and she's like, as hard as it is, I also feel uninspired. And can you imagine to be over-challenged and uninspired? Where does that actually take you, and how does that prepare you for the world? How does that prepare you for college?
Yeah.
Her friends who didn't go to Montessori simply say, we're waiting. We're just waiting for real life to begin. And that's the same message, but I think without the Montessori speak, she knows that education is meant to be inspiring. She knows that you can dig deeper and have agency in your learning, which doesn't mean they're the boss and they don't have to listen. It actually means the opposite. They're more prepared to listen. They're more prepared to cooperate. So as you're parenting your kids, whether they're newborns or 4-year-olds or 12-year-olds, and you want more of that peace, you want more of that excitement and that engagement in their learning and in their life, this is just the way to do it. It works, people.
For sure. When are you going to write this book?
I'm actually in the process.
Are you really?
You didn't know that.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, I actually am in the process. We were talking with Harvard Press recently, and we're talking about writing it down. I've got all the stories. A lot of them are on like our blog posts or social media posts, and we're actually putting them together.
Where could they find those? Where could they find the blog posts?
On Facebook, we are the Montessori School Rochester. That's where you would find us for both the Crystal Lake campus that's opening as well as our current campus. And I believe it's the same tag for Instagram. Okay. I'm like old, so I don't use Instagram, but we have a staff member that does. And thank you. And yeah, so you can find that. And you can also find a series of our videos on our website as well to get more information.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the book? what you can say?
What can I say? It's really about relatable stories, the questions parents ask, and examples from in our classrooms that answer those questions. So one example is we had a parent that her child just wasn't cooperating. She wanted mom to pick her up, and she wanted her to lift her up and carry her, and mom had a back injury and she couldn't. And so mom is trying to be peaceful because she's in the hallways of the school.
Yeah.
And the child is just, I mean, red-faced, drenched, just sobbing.
Aw.
And I just kind of bent down onto her level and I just said, you know, you're crying. And she stopped crying and she looked at me and she said, yeah. And I said, you're so upset. She said, yes. And I said, did you know that mom's back hurts? She had a surgery on her back and she really wants to carry you. Her heart is hurting because she wants to carry you, but she can't. And I said, what's one way to be connected to mom without her actually carrying you so that you can take care of mom while she takes care of you? She said, Mom, can I hold your hand? And she took mom's hand and she walked out. And the book is a series of those examples. Parents are always
That's
like, can
beautiful.
we take you home with us?
Yeah,
And I'm
right.
like, no, but you can keep your child registered
Yeah.
at the school. And so it's going to be a series of those kinds of stories that really give a window of language and opportunities for parents to
It's awesome.
work with their children and have a more peaceful life, because we all can use
That's all
more
we want.
peace.
All right.
Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us. If you recall, we close out each episode by asking, what does it mean to you to be Chaldean? So if you can answer that. I don't know if you remember the question or not, but it usually catches everyone off guard. So
It does a little
do your
bit.
best.
I love being Chaldean. I love connecting to my culture and my community. To be Chaldean is to be part of an extended family. I have a huge family myself, but I see another Chaldean person, particularly when they walk in the school, and there's a different type of joy. I feel like, my family is here. They're part of the school, and I don't know, it just, being Chaldean is a family larger than anybody could ever hope for, but definitely blessed to have.
Oh, thank you. Thanks again for joining us, and everyone, please look up the MSR school, the Montessori School Rochester.
The Montessori School Rochester.
Montessori School Rochester. Look it up. Look at the links all below. You join the gala.
You're coming too,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
It's May 20th, so it's in just a few days, and 7 to 11. So even if you have those recitals and whatnot, 7 to 11 p.m., join Anthony and I and all of our friends and family.
Cool. Thanks again.
Thank you.